Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And welcome to, I'm going to make this the official start of my journey into the expanded universe, the Star Wars expanded universe. I've talked about some titles before, the Thrawn trilogy, I've talked about some books like that before and everything, and I've given little reviews, but now that I'm starting from the beginning, and this is the beginning in terms of continuity-wise, I'm going to chronicle my journey all on through, so I wanted to do that. Before I get into Dawn of the Jedi, though, the one I'm primarily talking about in this video, I want to address one of the most dumbass things I've heard. Kathleen Kennedy, she's back now. She's opening her big flabberjaws back, and she's talking a bunch of nonsense again after going into hiding, for a long time after The Last Jedi because, damage control. She's back now talking a bunch of bullcrap about Star Wars and proving that she doesn't know anything about this franchise or what it deserves, what it stands for, or anything like that. Geeks and Gamers actually has a great video that I'll link to in the top right-hand corner there that covers this, an interview she gives where she's talking and she makes the statement. She makes the statement that Star Wars has always been about things relevant to current events and relevant to society and what's going on. She said it's always been like that. And that that's why they're going to continue in 2019 with Rise of Skywalker and all their other movies from that point. They're going to continue to use Star Wars to be social commentary. Says it from her own mouth there, and I'll link to that video. What is she freaking smoking? What does she think that the original trilogy was current events social commentary about? Now, sure, you can look at the original trilogy and you can see some of the little things that Lucas might have slipped in there about the Empire or whatever. It's weird, though, because a lot of the things, they'll pick and choose whatever they want that just happens to serve them at that moment. There's a part in the episode 3 where Anakin tells Obi-Wan, if you're not for me, you're against me. And that was a famous, supposed to be basically like Bush saying that, to other countries or whatever in the War on Terror. And now the left is using that phrase their own. It's like they have no self-awareness whatsoever. They'll just flip-flop or whatever, and I don't just mean left. I mean like the social justice warriors. I don't just mean people who have left politics or whatever. But, those extremist social justice warriors who are in control of all of our beloved Hollywood franchises and in the media and whatnot. So just nonsense. I'm interested because of that, though. This was written in 2013, which is technically the earliest book in terms of continuity. So I'm interested as I go through these, and I don't know, I haven't looked at the list to gauge this exactly yet, but as I go through and find the books that were written during the Bush administration, I'm curious to see if they've got to have tried to slip something in there somewhere, because, Trump derangement syndrome is everywhere now, but my God, I remember during the Bush years, just everybody who was in front of a camera had to find some way to say that they were against George Bush. And I was just like, you're a storyteller, you're an actor, you're an entertainer. Shut the hell up. No one cares about your politics. It just drove me crazy. But anyway, I will see, and I will definitely report back as I get to those. But Dawn of the Jedi, Dawn of Justice, that's a whole different load of crap. Dawn of the Jedi, Into the Void, was released in 2013, and as I said, this is the first continuity-wise. It takes place, I think, like 25,000 years before A New Hope. So they got this this list, which is pretty handy in the front of all the books that they're rebranding as Legends, which is stupid. I tried to order this looking for a copy that was just an old used copy, but I ended up getting this for some reason. It got sent to me. So anyway, yeah, so 37,000 to 25,000 years before Star Wars A New Hope. You can tell that this book was supposed to be a series, Dawn of the Jedi, and this is Into the Void. I really think, I haven't done the research on it, but I imagine this is pretty much close to the truth, that it was supposed to be a series. There were supposed to be more Dawn of the Jedi books. This was the Into the Void, and they were supposed to have more, but this was 2013, so it wasn't too long after that Disney acquired things, and they just put the 86 on all of this, wonderful expanded universe that people had loved and stuck with for so long, because Disney doesn't care. They just want their own agenda, own platform. So there you go. But how does this book match up? Now, a lot of people were telling me that it just, you can skip it or whatever, but I'm glad I read it. I really am. Now, it doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't feel like Star Wars because it is so far back. It's so far back from the great, Star Wars universe that we know. Dawn of the Jedi, this is a time in which there is a balance to the Force. The original story, the original trilogy of Star Wars, That's really the story of Luke finding balance between the dark and light sides, and finding a way to fight for the light but still embrace his emotions and his attachments to those he loves and stuff like that. So it's about sort of finding that balance. This is back in a time when balance was there and the Jedis were trained for that. It's a time before lightsabers, and the Jedi were just carrying like actual metal swords, and they were still highly trained in all of this. I would love to know more about this time period. It does include a little short story. So this is by Tim Levin. It does include a short story by John Ostrander called Eruption, which is a nice little short story that actually precedes the events of this story, introduces you to Lannery, and tells you her, right before she's called back to go after her brother Dale, excuse me. So it's a good story. I had fun with it. It did, it's the long line of the narrative is split. You'll go back and forth between her as like an 18-year-old or a teenager or whatever, out doing their initial journey to learn the ways of the Force across the planet of Typhon. Her and her brother Dale going out on that journey. So it's cut between that narrative and the current narrative that she's on right now in search of her brother on this mission from the Jedi. And that's cool, but what's they already tell you how the memory, how them back in time ends. She ends up finding out that her brother has died. Of course, then she finds out later that he hasn't really died. This isn't a spoiler. This is all told to you in the first few pages. So how that memory is going to end. And I feel like the pacing did slag a little bit when you bounce back to the memory all the time. I found myself really engaged and really excited about the stuff that would happen in the main, like the contemporary time frame of the book or whatever, with her and this Twi'lek Trisana going out in this adventure. I mean, that was really cool stuff, really gripping and engaging. But like every other chapter, you'd have to, oh, okay, I got to put that on hold now and go back and find out what's going on in the memory again. And it was just that was a little bit of a problem. It did as the book progressed though, and as the narrative progressed, the flashback scenes become shorter, so that it becomes less of a problem as you move throughout. But all in all, a really fun read. I enjoyed the characters; they're likable. It introduced me again. I know that a lot of people, especially if you've been reading the expanded universe as they came out, you're going to be familiar with a lot of the ideas that are presented here. That I just wasn't, having not read many books in the expanded universe yet. So ideas like the alchemy, Jedi alchemy and stuff like that, that was really cool to hear about and read. So it was nice to read this. I'm glad I did. I'm bummed that this is the only book set in that time period that I know of. I will say this, for the list they give at the front, they don't include the comics that are part of the timeline. And other lists online I've seen do include the comics, but this one doesn't seem to include any of the comics. So I don't know if there's some things, maybe comic-wise, from that time period that I just don't know about. I haven't seen them included on any list. But it's a bummer that not more of that area got filled in, because that would have been cool to read. So, yeah, good book. I recommend it. Good solid story otherwise. Just that little bit of lagging, when it does the flashbacks. But good fun book. Next up is the Lost Tribe of the Sith, the collected stories. These are a lot of fun. I've just read through the first one by John Jackson Miller. So the first one was a lot of fun to read. So little short stories. I like short stories. It's a nice craft to creating them. So I'll read through this and get back to you when that's over. And then there are some comic books, I think, that come out of this period or out of this theme directly after this and whatnot. So I'll get to that. I did want to let people know though that I have gone ahead and ordered obviously used, they're so old, an Xbox, a proper Xbox, just simply Microsoft Xbox, and a copy of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Everybody's been telling me that is just a must play. Everybody, loves it and everything. And apparently it's part of the expanded universe, because after the Lost Tribe of the Sith and all the comic books, the next one is the Old Republic, Revan. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that yet. But that one, I've heard a lot of the reviews say that you really need to have played the game to really, truly appreciate that book, because the book's obviously tied in to some characters and everything from that game. So I do have the game system on its way. It should be here by Thursday, and that's when I'm going to, that'll be my last day of teaching. So nice little celebration. So I'm excited about that. So this is, yeah, it's good stuff. I'm just so excited that look at that list. I've not having ever read the expanded universe. I read the Thrawn trilogy and like one other book, within that, and that's about it. So, I have all of these, and this isn't even counting the comics that I get to do and finishing out the Clone Wars series and stuff like that. I have all of these books This is years worth of time that I still have to spend in the expanded universe. I'm very excited about that. And this is the real proper Star Wars universe, the one that's not just trying to preach me a bunch of politics, the one that's true to the source material and true to the to the theme and spirit of the Skywalker saga and all of that. So I can't wait. I'm very excited about it. So I'm glad to be reading this, glad to be going in that. I do have to show off, just since I have it here, this my copy of Heir to the Empire, obviously an older copy, signed by the great Timothy Zahn himself. So excited about that. Very cool. But yeah, I will continue to chronicle my journey through this, and I will certainly talk more about the Old Republic once I start playing that, Knights of the Old Republic. But that's all for now. Keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love, and the ones that you truly know are true to canon and true to the characters, not the one that just some copyright holder tells you it has to be canon.
Do you like comics that are unafraid to portray women as feminine and men as masculine? Do you enjoy being entertained rather than preached to? If so, then you'll love my own graphic novel currently on Indiegogo. Tales from the Stacks is an anthology series in the vein of The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt. It contains 3 uncanny tales to thrill and haunt you long after reading. With interior art by Dave T. and variant covers by John Malin, Kyle Ritter, and Kyung Lee, you have lots of options to choose from. You can find the link in the description below or search Indiegogo for Tales from the Stacks, and tell the comic industry you don't have to settle for their social agenda platforming. Thanks. And last but not least, don't forget that your Professor Geek now has a merch store. Check out the current options from t-shirts to magnets to the iconic Professor Geek coffee mug, and let me know if you'd like to see something else. The link is in the description, or you can go to cafepress.com/ProfessorGeek.